Good morning, students. Welcome back to Atmiya Green School. I'm Afrin Sayyed, your English teacher, and today we'll have a revision of Chapter 1, The Crystal Cave. Okay, before I start, I'll let you know that in your examination, along with MCQs, you'll also have question and answers. Okay, you'll have question and answers. Um, so you have to prepare question and answers. And today we are going through the course book exercise so that we can easily revise the entire chapter as well as we can revise question answers um, through this exercise. Okay, so take out your textbook so that you can you can see questions and answers are on your screen, students. So here we go. Reading 1, page number 16. Reading 1, page number 16. At the opening of the story, Grandma playfully makes the children realize the importance of salt. How does she do that? Okay, so in the beginning of the story, students, we have seen that Grandma is playfully trying to making realize children, that is Tanyak and Changun, the importance of salt. So why is she doing this? So grandma asked the children to taste the broth she had made. Okay, so she had prepared some broth which she is asking children to taste. After they tasted it and told her that it was awful, she added some salt and asked them to taste it again. So first she asked the broth without the salt. Then she asked them to taste again. Now this time they told her that the broth was delicious. So after adding salt in the broth, the taste of the broth was very delicious. So this way grandma made the children realize the importance of salt. Okay, so students, if even if your mom prepares something for you and sometimes if she forgets to add salt in it, so it does not taste like anything. Okay, but once you add some salt inside it, it tastes delicious. So that is importance of salt. No matter how tasty your food is, but if it does not contain salt, then it might not taste that delicious. Then question number 2 says, why does grandma think that their village was rich? So why does she think that their village was very rich? Grandma thought that village was rich because it was self-sufficient. What do you mean by self-sufficient? That is independent. They don't need anyone. They don't need anyone's help to satisfy their hunger. Okay, and they were not dependent on anyone. They were self-sufficient. The villagers grew millet and paddy in the fields. Yes, what does they grew in their villages? In this village, what does they grow in the fields? They grow millet and paddy. Remember, students, what does they grow? They grow millet and paddy. They got shrubs, ferns, and fruits from the jungles. The young man hunted for the meat. So what they get all such shrubs and ferns from the jungle, and for meat they hunt animals. Okay, the villagers made their own salt, and yes, they used to make their own salt. The extra salt was bartered for the clothes. What do you mean by bartered, students? When goods are exchanged against goods, or when services are exchanged against services, then it is known as bartered. Remember, students, when goods are exchanged against goods, for example, if someone needs wheat, let's take example Tom and John. Tom have wheat, whereas John have rice. So now Tom wants some rice. So what Tom will do? Tom will go to John and ask for rice. Okay, and in return he will give his wheat. So when goods are exchanged against goods, when money is not a medium of exchange, जैसे आप कोई चीज खरीदते हो तो आप क्या करते हो? आप उसके अगेंस्ट पैसा देते हो, पर अगर आप पैसा ना दो और उसके अगेंस्ट अगर आप गुड्स ही देते हो तो वो हो जाता है बार्टर्ड सिस्टम. ओके, now for clothes, beads and other necessities. Now question number 3. The Nocte knew how to make salt in the past. How did they make salt? Okay, so Nocte people knew to make salt. So how were they making salt? In past, a salt spring used to flow by the village. The Nocte built shallow troughs and filled. So what happened? During those past times, there was a salt spring which used to flow from their village. And those Nocte built a shallow troughs and filled them with the salt water. They used to build some shallow troughs in which the water passes and the salt get collected over there. When the sun dried up the water, grain of salt were left in the troughs. Okay, so when sun absorbs all the water, then salt remains there. This is how they made the salt. Okay, so what they were doing, they were making shallow troughs, and when it was passing, when those water passes from there, they collect the water in those troughs, and when sun absorbs all that water, then grains of salt were left in the troughs, and this is how they made the salt. Okay, now question number 4. What does a ribbon of light green against the darker green of dense jungle refer to? I repeat, what does a ribbon of light green against the darker green of dense jungles refer to? What does it mean? So, the ribbon of light green refers to the furrow through which salt spring had flowed. Yes, ribbon of light green is those furrows which they have made through which the salt spring had flowed. So from the place from the furrow from which salt spring used to flow, that is known as ribbon of light green. It went up the mountains which had thick jungles that were dark green, and where does she went? They went into the dark jungles. Okay. The furrow was covered by ferns and creepers, and all those furrows were covered with ferns and creepers, which were light green in color, and hence look like a ribbon of light green. And then for they have called it as a ribbon of light green. I hope you understood, students. Okay, let's move towards question number 5. Did the children get scared of the herd of elephants? How do you know? Yes, it is asked that did they get scared of the elephants? And in collective noun, you know that when there are too many elephants moving together, then in group it is known as herd of wild elephants. Okay, so it is asked that were those children afraid of the elephant? And how do you know that? The children were familiar with the ways of the jungle. When they came across the herd of wild elephants, they took care not to make any noise. What did they do? They didn't make any noise. Okay, look, children, even those wild animals, they don't harm you unless and until you poke them. Okay, you don't have to poke them. If you are going to poke them, if you are going to annoy them, then of course they are going to hurt you. But if you are not going to hurt them, if you are taking care of their privacy, then they'll not hurt you in any way. So they said that they took care that they'll not make any kind of noise, and they knew they had to stay clear of the elephant, so they waited until the herd moved out of the area. Yes, what does it mean? That none of them came into the way of elephants. No one came into the way of elephants. If they would have came into the way of elephants, then elephants might have hurt them. So they make sure that they don't come into the way of elephants and stay out of the reach. Okay, so this is how there were two things they took care of. What did they do? They didn't make any noise. Children, they didn't make any noise, and other thing, they remained out of the way of elephants. Now let's move towards question 6. The children use various clues to locate the salt spring. What are the clues? Why are they right clues? Yes, there were various clues which took them till the salt spring. So which were those clues and how they knew? Let's see the answer. The children followed the furrow upstream in search of salt lake, but encountered a herd of wild elephants. So what they come across? They come across the wild elephants halfway up the mountain. Soon the children stumbled upon a clearing where they spotted hundred of hoof marks. Okay, there were hundred of hoof marks in their way. This was a clue that they had found a natural salt lake, and that was the first clue they found of the natural salt lake. From there, they noticed the salt spring furrow running through clearing and then disappearing into hollow. And this was a clue that they had found a natural salt lake. From that, they noticed the salt spring furrow running through a clearing and then disappearing into a hollow. So when they saw that that it disappears into a hollow, oh, they found out the cave. It led them to cave, and the walls of cave were coated with the white crystals. And that white crystal was nothing but it was a salt which got coated onto the walls of caves. Okay, this crystal was a salt. Okay, now let's move. Moving towards question number 7, there is line in the story that reads as, then carrying the treasure upon on their backs, they began the descent home. What is the treasure? Very important answer, students. What is the treasure? What is the treasure? The treasure refers to the salt that children carried back to the village from the salt mine. What was the treasure? It was the salt which children carried back to the village from the salt mine. And question 7b, why is it called a treasure? Why it was called as treasure? It is called treasure because having it would make the village rich again, and the villagers would be able to sell or barter salt at market. So getting back to the salt will make them rich. Okay. Now I'll move forward, students. Through this question answer, we were able to revise the chapter entirely. Okay. Now, on page number 17, there are some MCQs given. Let's revise it. Our village is poor now. We are no longer self-sufficient. What do you mean by self-sufficient? What is the synonym of self-sufficient? It is independent. Then question 2 is, early next day after the morning meal, Thenyak and Changun started for their quest. Okay, so what do you mean by quest? Quest is an adventure. Quest means adventure. So far, they had met with only one obstacle, a large python. So, what do you mean by obstacle? Obstacle means obstruction. Obstacle means obstructions. Then question 4, a pangolin scampering through the undergrowth. A pangolin scampering through the undergrowth. That is, scampering means running. Scampering means running. Then question 5 is, the pure white crystalline helps glitter in the slanting rays of the afternoon sun. What do you mean by glitter? Glitter means sparkles. Glitter means sparkle. Okay. Now let's revise our nouns. Let us revise nouns. What are nouns and how kinds of nouns? Okay. So nouns, students, words that gives name of a person, place, animal, things are called nouns. Name of a person, place, animal or thing is called noun. So there are mainly two types of noun, common noun and proper noun. There are mainly two types of noun, common noun and proper noun. Your syllabus include mainly two types of noun, that is common noun and proper noun. Among them, even though we have studied all kinds of nouns, okay, students. Uh, now, in common noun, there are two types of noun, countable noun and uncountable noun. Countable noun and uncountable noun. Now, here, in countable noun, there are two more types, that is concrete noun and few abstract noun. Okay, then there is uncountable noun, and in uncountable noun, there are nouns used in relation to travel, and most of them are abstract noun. Okay, I'll show you. Yes, students, you can see on the screen. Okay, it is not easy to describe a noun in simple terms. Nouns are things and verbs are action. Okay, so if we say name of any person, if we say name of any animal, if we say name of any place or name of a thing, then those name of a person, place, animal and thing are known as noun. Okay. Now, types of noun. Here you can see types of noun. There are mainly two types of noun, common noun and proper noun, and then they are divided more into concrete noun, abstract noun, countable noun, uncountable noun, collective noun and compound nouns. We have already studied those nouns, students. Okay. Now, in the types of noun, there are, first we'll go with countable noun. Countable noun, as the name suggests, countable. So, nouns which are countable, you can count them 1, 2, 3. So, any nouns which are countable are known as countable noun. And nouns which are not countable, like rice, like hairs, you can't count them. So, that is uncountable noun. Now, there are common noun and proper noun. Common noun, when words are used in general, when any name of a person, place or animal, thing is used in general, it does not specify anything. For example, here it is given that car, dog, teacher, house, water, music, plane, sea, they are all general nouns. They are not the name of some person or place, but they are used in general. Like if I say all girls and boys, so girls and boys are general. I'm not specifying anyone. Okay, so that is common noun. But among girls and boys, if I ask Rohan and Ria, if I ask Rohan and Riya, then I am specifying some person's name. I am specifying a specific girl or specific boy by giving the name Rohan and Riya. So that is proper noun. Okay. Then here is a collective noun. Collective noun, a collective noun is a noun that represents a collection of individuals, like students. As I said now, students. So I am talking about both girls and boys in common, and you guys are now okay. So student is a common noun. Because how is it given? Because a group of girls and boys sitting here to study, that is students. Okay, they have the common goal, they have the common goal, that is to study. Then it says that it is a collective noun. Okay, collective noun, for example, a team, a family or a crew. I'll give some more examples of collective noun. I'll give some more example of collective noun. Wait, students. Yes, a bouquet, a bouquet of flowers is a collective noun. Then I'll read it for you. A herd of cattle, a fleet of ships, a swarm of flies, a bunch of flowers, a pride of lions. So all these are example of collective noun. A bunch of flowers, a battalion of soldiers, a colony of ants, a flock of birds, a litter of kittens, a pride of lion, a school or shoal of fish, a team of players. So all these are example of collective noun. Okay. Now, plural only nouns. There are singular and plural now here. This is a small group of nouns that are always plural. Like trousers. Trousers are always plural. Boxers, headphones and belongings. So, all these are plural noun. Now, we'll talk about concrete noun and abstract noun. Here, it is not given, but I'll explain. It is not given in this PDF, but it consists in your textbook. You have in your syllabus, and we have already studied when I was teaching you. Now, if you want to revise it, students, you can see that video again. If you want to study all those nouns in detail on my YouTube channel, you will find out that video of types of noun. Okay, now we have abstract and concrete noun. Now concrete nouns. I'm writing here concrete nouns are nouns that you can see, hear, smell and touch. So concrete nouns are nouns that you can see, hear, smell and touch. So any noun which you can see, hear, smell or touch are known as concrete noun. For example, a bowl, a bottle, apple. All these are nouns which you can see, hear, smell and touch are concrete nouns. Nouns, abstract nouns. Abstract nouns are nouns that you can see, you cannot see, hear, touch and smell. Okay. So nouns which you cannot which you cannot see, hear, touch and smell are abstract noun. Okay, like any kind of feelings. Like if you can say happy, sad, all these are abstract nouns. Okay. Beauty, all this consist of abstract nouns. We have already discussed that there are some nouns which are always in the plural form. Okay, because they are in pairs, like pair of scissors. We never say Caesar. We always say pair of scissors. So that is something which is always in plural form. And then we have nouns and genders. Okay, we have various nouns and genders like masculine, feminine, common gender, and neuter gender. All this comes in nouns. If you want to see, okay, I'll show you a video on nouns so that it becomes easier for you to recall. So let's watch the video so that you can revise it again.
Common and proper. We now know that all nouns have a common name and also that some nouns have a special name. Look at the following pictures. Identify them. This is a boy. This is a dog. This is a fort. This is a car. All these names are general names of a person, an animal, a place, and a thing. These are common nouns. Now, let us give special names to these common nouns. So we can say, this is Ricky. This is Pluto. This is the Red Fort. This is a Honda City. Special names given to people, animals, places, and things are called proper nouns. All proper nouns begin with capital letters. Remember, names of cities, days, months, festivals, holidays, books, people, etc. are proper nouns.
You had revision of common noun and proper noun. Now we'll have abstract nouns.
Abstract nouns. Abstract nouns are opposite of concrete nouns. They can only be thought of or felt. They cannot be seen or touched.
Yes, I already discussed this.
For example, an idea is a thought. Happiness is a feeling. Thus, idea and happiness are abstract nouns. An abstract noun refers to qualities, actions, and state of being. For example, kindness is a quality. Laughter is an action. Beauty is a state of being. In short, abstract nouns are words that name ideas, feelings, experiences, qualities, and concepts.
Okay, so you even learn about abstract noun. Now let's have concrete nouns. So here is concrete noun. Let's watch, students.
And abstract. Anything that you can see, touch, smell, taste, or hear is concrete. Concrete nouns are words that refer to objects that we can experience with our five senses. That is, by seeing, smelling, hearing, tasting, and touching. For example, a mountain can be seen. Incense sticks can be smelled. A trumpet can be heard. Noodles can be tasted. Rain can be touched. Thus, mountain, incense sticks, trumpet, noodles, and rain are concrete nouns. Abstract nouns are opposite.
Yes, we already saw that concrete nouns are nouns which can be seen, heard, or smelled, or touched, whereas abstract nouns cannot be seen, cannot be touched, cannot be heard. They can just be felt. So that is a basic difference between concrete and abstract noun. Moving towards collective nouns. Okay, quick revision towards collective noun.
Ricky and Nikki are at an animal farm. Look at the interesting banners they have come across at the farm. A herd of cows. A flock of birds. A swarm of flies.
Some common nouns have a special name when they are in a group. A collective noun is a word used to name a group of people, animals, or things.
The words herd, flock, swarm are collective nouns used to refer to groups of cows, birds, and flies respectively. Let us look at some more collective nouns. Pack is a collective noun which refers to a group of dogs. School is a collective noun which refers to a group of fish. Bunch is a collective noun which refers to a group of geese. Team is a collective noun which refers to a group of horses. Class is a collective noun which refers to a group of students. Troop is a collective noun which refers to a group of monkeys. A collective noun is singular in form even though it names anything which is two or more than two. For example, a set of tools, a bale of cotton, a deck of cards.
Such group of words is called a noun phrase.
Okay, students. So this was your quick revision towards your chapter Crystal Cave, chapter that is chapter 1, and we had a revision towards nouns as well. We even discussed nouns and then we saw the videos too. Okay, students, learn your question answers, go through your chapters, go through each and every line because you even have MCQs and you have question answers too. I hope that the video was very much useful to you and you are studying well. Have a good day, students. Take care of yourself as well as of your families.